so when we started having people up to the museum, and which was the 4,000 or 5,000 artifacts we had, and also my paintings in the background. I had hopeful once in a while one would sell, which would pay for the museum, and it worked in time. But first, when the people came up, we put them inside this cage. Now you got an eagle owl whose eyes are this big, right? And he's here, and he's looking at you. He's taking his coin, he's going like this, right? It turns the thermometer up on your viewer. It gets their system moving a little. And then after that, you put them in the museum alone, saying you're allowed to touch what you're allowed to touch and what not. And we want you there alone because it's as much your heritage as ours. And that's what it was all based on. And it was something. It was something. I just couldn't handle it eventually. My health was going to go pop, and I had to head to a place where I could be in a hospital very quickly. And that's the only reason we came back. But if I hadn't come back, I wouldn't have found 500 trips out in the wilderness. And I don't know anything that was really much more than that. Even in the ski troops, there was always another soldier. You were never alone. I mean, buddy, or you were always out with somebody. And they were leading you or teaching you, or on weekends you went out with 3 or 4 guys and whatnot. But not this kind of stuff. I mean, unless you still built your snow hut or your igloo and whatnot. But there's a lot of, you know what it is. You're out there alone, and it's a great nature. And I never had that in Europe. You have it on horses, and you're riding and whatnot. But the horse knows what he's doing. He really does. You're not alone. He's going to protect you, or he's going to, it's the two of you. It's different. Or you always have your kids along, and that's wonderful, and you're teaching them, but that's not alone. That's a different thing. You're teaching something. And, but wilderness doesn't exist in all of Europe. They stopped that stuff 200 years ago when they cut down the forests and whatnot to build all the trees. They became civilized. But here, with this chunk of wilderness around here, it is one of the largest, the surrounds of Aspen in wilderness, one of the largest sections in the country. And on the divide, nobody uses it either. Nobody. Out of 500 trips, if 20 of them, I saw anybody from 6 o'clock in the morning till 1 in the afternoon. In the winter, it was a lot. I got to be very careful of the oils. Always wear a mask, because right now my lungs are susceptible to everything. What happens when you get an emphysema is that it literally destroys all the surround. And the surround is what protects you from various diseases, bugs, and whatever. It filters everything from your lungs into your system. And that's gone. They're called areoles, I think. And that's all gone. So there's no, so you walk outside and I start the car, and the gas from the starting the car, if I haven't got a mask on, that gas is going right into my nose, right into my lungs. I start to cough, I can feel it right away and whatnot, so I make sure I wear a mask all the time and don't go in Aspen where all that pollution is, right? Local consumption. I'm sorry, Steve Medcalf, but every once in a while. And, but at any rate, right now I'm using only acrylic. The main reason I'm using acrylic is that I'm in Barbie's living room, and if I use oil and I get paint on it and I can't get it off the floor, I'm going to get killed. But it's very, very strong. Once it's dried, it's, well, nobody knows how long it's going to last. It's showing every sign of being fundamentally much more strong than oil, which is an organic constitution and always stays a little alive. Where acrylic, plastic. I forget his name now, but there was some writer in New York who bought a number of canvases of mine. And at one time I went into the New York Gallery from Spain, and he came in and said, I had a fire. What was his name? He had built a dream house, and he wrote a book about it. Anyway, he said there was a fire and your canvases were caught in the fire. I said, were they totally destroyed? He said, no, oddly enough, I'll bring them in. And he did. The canvas on the back of the canvas burned and destroyed. And the painting, the paint, and a pretty heavy coated paint like I'm doing, but heavier and palatalized. The paint was plastic, like a plastic sheet. The painting was still there. I put another canvas on the back and we worked it, and it all worked out fine. That's a little extreme, but that's how strong that acrylics are. I don't paint to music, but I listen to music a lot of times during the day. Almost always classical station, and our local is pretty good. We'll go for a little more of this. Some balsamic, a little soy sauce, olive oil, not enough. Olive oil, here's some. All right, did I put in soy? Yes. Sugar. Everybody does his own. That's it, folks.
Nice.
No, it's individual taste and whatnot. Barbie found it somewhere or other.
All right, thank you.
Anyway, the days are full. If I would make any complaint, I seem to be short on time. Not in the sense of you're losing it, or you're going to be gone, or you got stuff to do and you haven't done it. Blah, 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 you know, that's all. Nah, it's just of things that I want to do now. I got a hunger to do what I want to do, and it takes time to do them. And you don't work as efficiently at 83 as you do at 73 or down the line. You lose time and other, I mean, it just takes time, and you make a lot of mistakes and you back up and stuff like that. But of all the projects that we have on, I think Barbie's book is most important to me. For her, for me, and I think for future. And it says it better in all the talking that I've done. It's one big long poem of life. And going to be a hell of a companionship, the two, the film and the book together, because they do it in different ways, completely. And for me, though, if I could write like that, I would have done the book. I would have done it the other way. But it's a bitch to put together. It's 500 pages, and about 450 of them are written, but you're handling so many different documents. And that's the one thing that's difficult at this age, is you're reading something, retaining that particular thing, and putting it to the next. It's a kind of a syntax, synopsis thing. It's difficult. You'll remember that the day after or 2 days away, but that day, having just read it, no.